everybody? This is Against the Spread, and I am your host, DW, bringing you all the sports news around the world. Today, we are going to be talking about the AAF. And in case you haven't heard about the AAF, it is the brand new football league starting up this weekend. It is supposed to be a fun alternative to what the NFL is. This is spring football at its finest, and let's talk about it. First off, you have the 8 brand new teams. You have the San Antonio Commanders, the San Diego Fleet, the Orlando Apollos, the Atlanta Legends, the Arizona Hotshots, the Salt Lake Stallions, and the final 2 teams are the Birmingham Iron and the Memphis Express. There it is. Alright, so let's talk about some of the rule changes, if you want to call them that are different from the NFL. First off, you have the no kickoffs. That is a very interesting rule. It is fun because it doesn't slow down the pace of the game to send your kicker out there to just kick it out the back of the end zone. Second off, you have the 4th down, go for it attempt. If your team is down by 17 with less than 5 minutes to go, they get the ball at the 28 and they get one chance to go for it on 4th and 12. This is also another interesting rule, just a quick way to do an onside kick attempt, if you want to call it that again. That's really all I can think about. You have 8 teams. They're going to play 10 games apiece. Then you're going to have a 2-game playoff. The top 4 teams are going to make the playoffs, and then you're going to have the championship game. So, with all that being said, let's talk about the first game of the weekend. Let's talk about the Commanders versus the Fleet. And the final score for this was 15-6. Fairly close, if you look at it. You have 3rd down attempts, or total first downs. You have 17 for the Fleet, 24 for the Commanders. For your efficiencies, for 3rd downs, this is a big discrepancy in the game. You have the Commanders going 9 for 18 on 3rd downs, and you have the Fleet going 3 for 13 on 3rd downs. You're not going to win very many games going 3 for 13 on 3rd downs, but I don't have to tell you that. Next up, you have the 4th down conversions. This is where the Fleet beat the Commanders. The Fleet made their 1 4th down conversion. In the red zone, the Fleet went 0 for 3, while the Commanders went 1 for 5. This is going to be a trend throughout all of the games this weekend. I'm just going to chalk it up to sloppy football. First weekend of a brand new league, you're not going to get the cleanest football. Just like the first few weeks of NFL, you don't get the cleanest football. So next up, you have the total net yards. For the Commanders, it was 364, and for the Fleet, it was 295. Not terrible. The rushing was actually fairly close this week. It was 125 to 99 in favor of the Commanders. If you've listened to me talk about football before, you know I'm a huge fan of the run game, huge fan of defense. If you can get the run game started, then your pass game is going to work out better. That is just a proven fact, and it seems like both these teams have what it takes to run the ball. For passing yards, it was 239 to 196. This was a very close game up until you get to points like red zone efficiency. Even 1 for 5 is better than 0 for 3. At least they got in one time to score that 6 points that seems to be precious right now. When you look at passing, you have Woodside for the Commanders going 18 for 36, 255, but he went 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Against a good team, you're not going to win like that. your pass game is just as important as your run game, and going 0 on touchdowns and 2 for interceptions, that's not going to win you very much. For the Fleet, you have Berkovici going 15 for 25 for 176 yards. Also, no touchdowns, 1 interception. So then you have Nelson come in. He goes 5 for 10 for 68 yards. He had no touchdowns and an interception. Interceptions ran rampant through every game this week, it seemed like. I'm sure that's going to clean up come week 5 or 6. You're going to see a bunch of teams clean up their play, and it's just going to be good football coming up. For receiving on the Fleet side, you have Brown going 6 for 66. You have Escobar going 5 for 66. You have Ford going 3 for 56. You have Gardner going 3 for 17. And you have Owusu going 7 for 12. That's about all that's worth talking about on the receiving side. On the other side of football, the Commanders, you have McKay going 12 for 80. Moore going 5 for 76. Ward going 7 for 65. And Stewart going 1 for 11. These stats are extremely close, and I can't stress that enough, that this game was very close to be a 9-point game. For rushing, for the Commanders, you had Green go 6 for 43, Farrow go 14 for 37. It's a good thing all the other running backs picked up some slack for Farrow this week, because he did not run the ball very well, but every other running back did. And on the Fleet side, you had Gardner goes 8 for 55. Then you have the backup quarterback Nelson go 3 for 20. And then you had Berkovici go 1 for 14. So that's the stats for this game. I did want to say that late in the game you had Nelson in the game, and he drove the team all the way down the field. He got to the red zone, and then he threw an interception. The Fleet gave up so many opportunities this week, is the nicest way I can say it. They blew almost every opportunity they had, and if they keep doing that, they're not going to win any games, much less any game. Next game we have is the Orlando Apollos versus the Atlanta Legends, and the final score here was 40-6. What is this? 40-6 is not competitive at all. Maybe Orlando just had better coaching this week, came out, they were ready to play for this game, come out and show what they can do. But we can go by the side-by-side stats. You have Apollo's 22 first downs to the Legends 16. Then you have their third down efficiency, 4 for 10 for the Apollos and 4 for 13 for the Legends. That was pretty close. Neither one of them got their fourth down attempt. The Legends went 0 for 2 in the red zone. Once again, a team blowing both their chances in the red zone. Not going to win a game like that. But the Apollos went 2 for 5. If you just go and look, just looking through stats, these games look terrible, sloppy. If you just judge this league by 1 week, I doubt that football this sloppy is going to result in another season. But let's give it a full season. Let's see how these teams end up meshing together and forming these cohesive units, instead of watching these teams just come out looking like they played one game they formed yesterday. The rushing yards, here's a big difference, is the Apollos rushed for 137 yards while the Legends ran for 80. That is a big difference, and that is a part of where this Apollos team took over the game. Also, you had the Apollos throw for 226 yards, while the Legends threw for 144. While we're talking about passing, let's look at what the Apollos did. You had Gilbert go 15 for 25, 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Then you had Marshall go 1 for 1 for 5 yards and a touchdown. On the Legends side, you had Sims go 15 for 28 for 126 yards. Again, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And then you had Murray go 4 for 7 for 38 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. They threw 3 interceptions as a team, while the Apollos threw no interceptions all game. They threw no interceptions. They ran the ball. They dominated this game, and they came out with a well-deserved win. This was just an ugly game. You had 137 rush yards for the Apollos, which is huge. Running the ball is the most important thing right now. Run the ball, then pass the ball. Get first downs, get touchdowns. That's how it works. But 40-6, this was not pretty at all. And for the next game, we're lucky we got something fairly close. We have the Hot Shots versus the Stallions. The final score for this was 38-22. 16 points. It's the second closest game of the weekend. So let's look at our side by side. You have 24 first downs for the Stallions compared to 22 for the Stallions and 24 for the Hot Shots. You have a 4 for 12 third down efficiency rating for the Hot Shots. That is not good, but they still won their game. If they had a better percentage with that, I guarantee you that they win this game by more than 16. The Stallions went 8 for 16. That's a good stat. The Stallions got their 1 4th down conversion. Then in the red zone, the Stallions went 3 for 3. With stats like that, you think that they would win games. They went 50% on third downs, got every single one of their red zone attempts, and they still just couldn't do it. The run game was a big difference here too. It was 149-88 in favor of the Hot Shots. For the passing, it was another big one. It was over 100 yards difference. It was 267-152. It's just another big discrepancy, but the Stallions played so well in the red zone and they played so well on third down that it kept them in this game when it shouldn't have. For the Hot Shots on the passing side, you have Wolford, 18 for 29, 275 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That is an awesome stat. You have, for the Stallions, you have Woodrum going 10 for 22, less than 50% passing. You guys know, going less than 50% passing is terrible. You don't want to do that. Then on the other, their backup quarterback was not much better. He was 7 for 13. Together they threw 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 1 apiece for each of them. Running the ball, for the Hot Shots, you had Presley going 18 for 64, Stockton going 7 for 46, Wolford going 8 for 23, and as a team, again, it was 149 yards. That is great. They passed the ball well, they ran the ball well, they just didn't convert on third down, and they didn't do well in the red zone. Hopefully that comes, because this team has potential to be awesome if they keep doing that. Running the ball for the Stallions, you have Oliver going 8 for 40. For Bugnon, you had 16 for 39, 88 yards. 88 yards. Receiving for the Stallions, you had Denham going 7 for 59, Anderson going 4 for 25, Truesdale going 3 for 23, and that's all that's worth talking about there. You had, oh my God, Ross for the Hot Shots, 7 for 103. He averaged over 20 yards a catch. That is amazing. That is awesome to see. Mulaney went 5 for 57. Christian went 3 for 44. 4 for 44, sorry. If I just gave you the stats and didn't give you the score, you would assume more than likely that one of two things. Either the Stallions won this by a blowout, or that the Stallions won this pretty close. But just the way the Hot Shots threw the ball, ran the ball, they somehow made it. They didn't need the red zone to win this game, but they will need the red zone later on in the season. I can guarantee it, deep in the season. The final game of the week, we had the Iron going against the Express. The final here was 26-0 in favor of the Iron. You had 2 blowouts and 2 close games this week, so you got a little taste of everything. We got to see what these teams can do. Hopefully we get to see more of that later on in the season. Get to see some really close games going down to the wire. There's nothing better than watching 2 teams fight for a playoff spot late in the year. They're giving it their all. It's like free playoff football almost. So here we go for the side-by-side. For the Iron, 22 first downs compared to the Express 11. That is a big difference. For third down conversions, you had the Iron going 7 for 16, while the Express went 2 for 10. That's a fairly big difference, but going under 50% for third downs is just not a good look. Then again, first week, I hate to keep repeating myself and beating a dead horse, but these teams are just meshing together now. We're going to watch them grow together throughout the season. The total net yards was 327 to 202. Big difference. This is a game where the losing team ran the ball better. The Express ran the ball for 103 yards, while the Iron ran the ball for 86 yards. It's kind of ironic because the Iron got arguably the biggest name in the AAF with Trent Richardson. Of course, Trent Richardson was the number 3 pick a few years ago in the draft. He fizzled out, and now he's back in the AAF trying to get an opportunity for the NFL again. The passing yards was 241 to 99. I feel like if the Express could have thrown the ball, they'd have had a chance here because they ran the ball well. For the Iron, their passing, you had Perez going 19 for 33, 252 passing yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. I'm okay with that because he did not throw an interception this week. That is also always a good sign. On the other side of the ball, you had Hackenberg and Silvers combining to go 13 for 27. As a unit, they went less than 50%. If they could have thrown the ball well, they would have maybe had a chance this week. But 13 for 27 is not going to win you games with 2 interceptions. Rushing the ball for the Express, you had Zach Stacy, 12 for 58. McGee going 5 for 18. Manzo Lewis going 4 for 14. And Hagenberg going 1 for 5. For the Iron, you had Richardson, 23 of 58, an average of 2.5. If you're going to be the star of this league, he's going to have to start showing up and running the ball well. He did have 2 touchdowns, but I just can't get over this 2.5 average. Then you had Perkins going 5 for 13, Perez going 6 for 12, and then Felton going 1 for 3. This was not pretty at all. for receiving. For the Express, Howard was your leading receiver, and he had 33 receiving yards. 33 receiving yards was your leading receiver. That is horrible. Why? Now I understand, reading through this, I would assume that the Express got blown out by more than just 26. I would assume that it had been a 40-6 game like the other one, but they somehow kept this within 26 points because your receivers on the other side of the ball, you had Patton going 9 for 107, Perkins going 8 for 36, Bowman going 2 for 32. You almost had 3 receivers on the iron side receive for more than the leading receiver on the Express. God, this kind of makes me angry because there's no way they should be within 26 points with this kind of on the paper. But of course, it's on the paper. It wasn't on the field. So, okay, that's all I have for the AAF. I did throw the poll out there on Twitter and Facebook. If you not following me on Twitter, it is, I believe it's at Against the Spread. On Facebook, it's Against the with no space and then Spread. Make sure you go and follow me, friend me, do whatever it is. Make sure you like this, give this a thumbs up, and share this with all your friends. And I really appreciate the view, guys. Thank you.